Ooh. Well, it doesn't get much better than this when it comes to starting your photo walks. So, what's on the menu today? Well, up in the hills, fly strike. Well, what I've got today is a lovely mountain walk as usual. I've come with black and white film exclusively in the Nikon F80, although I do have a little tiny digital camera just in case. And I'm hoping for a bit of rain later, would you believe? You know, these early stages of the walk are always the best because just look at that light. Now, you might think it's strange that I would actually want it to rain on a beautiful day like this. You think it might spoil the walk, but on the contrary, in terms of photography, I like that contrast where you get the clouds blowing in and blowing over after the rain. It makes for the most interesting of landscape shots. Now, those of you who watch my videos regularly may recognise this scene from last year, which I shot in digital. And if you don't remember the video, go back and watch it, or you're dead to me. Well, here's an alternative viewpoint, slightly higher, more about the tree this time dominating the ruined building, but yeah, both very nice angles.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I actually developed this one and compared it to the one from last year. How similar they were. The composition is remarkably close. I mean, the tree is a little bit bigger in the second one, the black and white, but obviously I'm drawn to the same sort of compositions each time, regardless of whether I'm shooting digital, black and white, colour, film, whatever. It's just my personal preferences, and I suppose it's years and years of photographing. You tend to develop a style and compositional arrangement. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you can get in a bit of a rut.
Well, I was hoping for some more cloud than this and a bit more threatening skies. At the moment it's gin clear, as you can see. So hopefully when I get to the top, a bit of a front will come in. If not, I'm going to have to go for the high contrast black and white look. Right, just got to get to the top of this big one now, Connect, before we get some beautiful views across the valley towards Snowdon, back down Porthmadog, the estuary, and the Mulwinian Mountains. Fantastic. Well, it is a fabulous morning up here, and not that I need to tell you that. It's taken me about 3 hours to get to the top of this mountain, and it is a bit of a whiteout today. It's got that sort of hazy light, but glad I didn't bring colour. It's dreadful for colour, it just washes out. I might go for the sort of soft pastel black and white, pastel, you know, that soft low contrast, or could boost it up, but really I'm hoping for that cloud to build, because with XP2 Super and these flat skies, it's not the best combination. You know, there's something I've been giving quite a lot of thought to lately, and that's around the area of AI, image enhancement and resolution and quality. Now, it strikes me that in a few years' time, I don't know how many years' time it'll be, not many, you'll be able to take an old photograph and bring it up in terms of quality to something resembling a modern high-resolution digital camera, because that's the way AI is going, and enhancement in general. If you don't think that's true, well, I'm sorry, it is. I've spent 40 years now in IT, and everything that comes along is always something you never imagined. So there will be super high-resolution images created from simple film images or camera phones, as they are now, or even the small sensor digicams now. This begs the question, what is the point of carrying a super high quality camera with you and recording things in the highest resolution when you can do it later in software? Now, you might argue, oh, I want to capture it in camera, but that's a bit of a nonsense really anyway, because when you get it back, you process it, you crop it, you might change the aspect ratio, you're certainly going to mess about with the shadows and the colours. I don't hold any truck with the argument that straight out of camera is somehow noble and better. I mean, Ansel Adams manipulated the hell out of his negatives. And even Edward Weston, who did contact printing, used to wave his hands around underneath the bulb while it was exposing the sheet of very slow paper. So everyone's doing it. There's nothing wrong with it either. It's just how far you want to take it. So you may well think you need a 100 megapixel camera to capture those amazing vistas, but I'll bet you some of your earlier shots with those low resolution cameras, the 6, 8, 10, 12 megapixel digital cameras, are just as good, if not better, because you probably used to get out more because you were younger and more interested. And putting those through modern processing software can produce some fantastic images. And what's wrong with that? You took the shot anyway, you timed it, you got the shutter and the exposure settings all right, so why not make the most of it? So here, back to the point, shooting with something like this old Nikon F80, a black and white film. In the future, I'll be able to res it up and make it super quality if I want to, but I don't think I'll bother, to be honest. I'm quite happy with my images the way they are. Even when I print them and make them big, I don't mind them if they start to get a bit grainy or fall apart slightly. It just all adds to the atmosphere. But there you go. Rant over. I won't be buying a super high-res digital camera anytime soon. I'm just taking it all in for a minute. Half of the time, I'm always in a bit of a rush to get to the next spot, the next opportunity, or to walk as fast as I can, but I do need to take it a bit slower sometimes. This is why I'm out after all. It does my head so much good. Oh, now I was just saying how blinding the light is, and lo and behold, as you can see over Snowdon, there's some cloud building, and that's given me some modelling on the mountain itself. It's all very low contrasty, but that can look really good.
Now, rather unusually, the cloud and the better conditions built during the day on this walk. Normally I expect to get the interesting light first thing and it to sort of tail off as the sun gets brighter, but today, nice one sheep, today I actually think the light improved and the photographs improved as the day went on, which is unusual, as I said, but look, you can see the cloud building up over the distant mountains, and it came in quite quickly, as it does in these hills, and that made for far more interesting subjects, and it's exactly what I'd hoped for and exactly what the forecast had actually predicted.
Now I'm getting a little bit of cloud building up over Snowdon. Starting to build nicely actually in the last half hour or so. Not over the smaller peaks yet, I've just been up, but probably around about 3,000 feet. It's also over Mals Shabod, so it bodes well for a bit more interesting skies. Now I'm about to load the second roll of film, and I typically find I get the best shots on the first roll of film, but I've never really got enough in one roll to shoot everything I want. Sorry, it's too sunny. To shoot everything I want for the day, so I'll typically swap over a roll about now, and I'll have to rattle through it a little bit quicker, probably because there aren't as many opportunities, but it's all a case of judging and not using everything you brought with you. You know, I wasn't... Hang on. You know, I wasn't sure if the weather would improve, but it's improved dramatically, and I've just shot a few frames over in the direction you can see because everything's starting to look good. And I'm actually glad I brought a third roll of XP2 Super today, because it's possible I may get round to putting that one in as well. I mean, it could get so good. I regret shooting so many early on. Something else I've been giving a lot of thought to lately is that balance between experience and knowledge in photography, and that youthful exuberance or that initial excitement you felt when you took up the interest, the hobby. I remember it well. I finally got myself an SLR camera, film. It was amazing. I was out shooting all the time. Don't get me wrong, the images weren't very good, but I had a blast, and there were some in there which still look quite good today. Not many, but I think as we get more experienced with our interests, especially photography for me, and you know, you get your eye in, you look at a lot of other work, you start to use common compositional arrangements because you've done it so many times before. And I'm not talking about rule of thirds or, you know, the sort of golden whatever it is this week. I'm just talking about you get in a bit of a rut and you tend to see things in the same way, which is one of the reasons I often change my camera and bring different systems out with me to get me out of that rut. And what you'll find is that your images start to look the same. They might be technically very good and compositionally excellent, but sometimes you're lacking that initial spark when you see something, or just point the camera and amateurishly blast away. And I think sometimes it would be useful to try and get back to that early enthusiasm, that useful exuberance, and maybe try things we don't normally do, because that's where the real beauty of photography lies, showing people something in a different way and making them stop and think. Well, I was going to top up my water bottle there, my water bladder, with a little Sawyer's filter, but even though I know it can filter out a hell of a lot, there was a little bit of a film on the surface of that Lin Edno, and also there was all sorts of algae growing down in the depths, so I think I'll give it a miss. Well, finally, I've got the dull weather I was craving, and it's also getting a bit cold, which is a good sign. There might be a bit of rain coming in. As you can see, marvellous skies behind me now, so good job I've got plenty of XP2.
Now, 2 rolls is typically enough for the day, or more than enough. And I should really be aiming for 1 roll, because 36 frames is more than enough for an average day's shooting. You only get 12 if you're on a typical 6x6 medium format camera per roll. So I need to rein things in a little bit and be a little bit less trigger happy when I'm out shooting. So 2 rolls today, but in future, possibly just the 1.
Well, this is exactly what I wanted, as I just said. I've got the perfect black and white moody light. The mountains are almost silhouetted, but there's just a little bit of detail in there. And the cloud is, of course, fantastic. It's almost like it's got a graduated filter on there. I mean, I could do it as a panoramic, an X-pan, could do it square. Yeah, it works in all sorts of formats.
Now here's an example of the ideal tree for a black and white photographer, but as you can see here, I've actually over-processed this image. Now I've left it in. I could have taken it out and toned things down a little bit, but if you look carefully, I've got too much of a halo around the branches at the top when they're cutting into the background mountain. And I've also lifted the shadows a little bit excessively, and you can see that. And as soon as you see that, you can't stop seeing that. So, yeah, I could have easily taken it out, but it's an example of we all get carried away. We can go too far in Lightroom or the darkroom, and next time I'm going to take it a lot more gentle and subtle and more natural.
Well, I actually think unusually I've got the better shots of the day at the end here, due to the excellent dull conditions which have now moved in. Rained a little bit, got my jacket on, and that really has allowed me to make the most of this wonderful scenery. Now, I don't know what they're going to come out like, of course, you've already seen them, but I can envisage a moody, dark look to a lot of these. Maybe a bit of tone in there, I don't know, but suffice to say, my slogging for the past few hours has paid off, and I probably will get through the second roll of XP2 Super. Albeit some of them will actually be probably down by the lake where my car is. Well, I like the view from here, but there's a radio mast down there, some sort of antenna and a farm. But if I get it a bit close into these lovely brown grasses and perhaps get a bit lower, I could exclude them.
Well, indeed, just by ducking down, I could cut out all those unusual and annoying details, and it came out as a nice shot. And the light, superb looking back up the valley now. I love the subtlety of these colours. I love the subtlety of these tones in black and white. No colour in my images today.
Well, I must say the 2 rolls of XP2 Super, I think I've got a good spread of images across them. I've got about 10 shots left on the second one, just in case, as you do. But I'm really pleased so far. And oh, look at that tree. Ooh.
It's worth mentioning briefly that although you don't know what you've captured on film at the time, the more you shoot it, the better idea you have of whether you've got good images or not. And I knew I'd got good images today, despite the unpromising start.
I actually got a nice one, probably about 15 years ago, of the mountain of Iran, with a beautiful tree just arching over it. Still like that one.
So shooting right up to the end of the roll, nice one, put it into a sort of panoramic format. Just love the skies in there, and it took very little manipulation to get this effect.
Well, that's it for another fantastic walk in the hills. 2 sore feet, 2 rolls of film, get them developed as soon as possible. Do hope you enjoyed it, the yomp, the images, the idle chat, and I'll see you again on the next one.